Alright, what is up guys? Welcome back to another model kit review. And so, unexpectedly, we are actually back with another Bandai Star Wars model kit review. And so, this one has sat in my backlog for a while, and I finally got around to building it shortly after my little model kit building spree getting into the new house. So I built like 4 or 5 Zoids in the same week, including this kit as well, the B-Wing. I thought I was done reviewing the Star Wars Bandai model kits because I did build the original trilogy era X-Wing, the Rebel Alliance X-Wing, and did not do a review of that one. And mainly because these reviews were not extremely relevant to this channel. I mean, I do enjoy Star Wars a lot, and I do enjoy Bandai model kits, so I felt like it kind of did lend itself to being appropriate content for the channel. But the B-Wing here is just so nice, I decided I will go ahead and go back to it, even though I decided not to do the X-Wing review. Partially because I'd already done a review of the Resistance X-Wing, and there wasn't a whole lot left to say about that. But I was really impressed with this guy. So first I kind of want to talk about the B-Wing in terms of lore. I'm going to go over this very lightly, and I may get some things wrong, I may paraphrase some things, you'll have to excuse me a little bit, and then we'll talk about the model kit in terms of its actual quality and build integrity and all that stuff. So in terms of the B-Wing and its purpose in the Star Wars lore, the B-Wing was a Rebel Alliance fighter that was only deployed in very specific situations as a blockade buster, essentially, and its main purpose was to destroy large, slow targets, so capital ships, frigates, carriers, that kind of thing. And so it was a very slow, very heavy bomber, and so it wasn't like the Y-Wing, whereas the Y-Wing was more so used to accompany the other types of fighters and go in quickly, deliver a payload, and get the hell out of there, the type of Rebel Alliance hit-and-run guerrilla tactics. The B-Wing was sort of deployed with a fleet in space in a large encounter to strategically destroy certain high-value ships and get through, and it was very effective at doing that. It was one of the most advanced and most heavily armed starfighters of its time, and it does have a lot of cool features in it. So it does have its own hyperdrive, obviously. It also has its own sensor array and jamming relay as well, which is pretty cool. And it does feature on the bottom weapon assembly down here, it has a laser cannon as well as an ion cannon down there. And then it has twin laser cannons up here, a proton torpedo launcher, and its payload of heavy weapons can be swapped out with a number of things, including heavy rockets and space bombs. And if you guys ever played the Star Wars X-Wing and TIE Fighter games, you would know that, again, this was the ship that you brought in to deploy things like heavy rockets and space bombs to destroy capital ships with. And if you were playing as the Empire, you knew that you would want to get rid of these things as quickly as possible before your ships got destroyed by heavy rockets. And you also know that these things were very slow and pretty easy to hit, which was a godsend there. In terms of the movie canon, the only film that these things actually appear in is Return of the Jedi, as the box art would indicate there. So these were brought in during the Battle of Endor, when the entire Rebel fleet, all of its varieties of starfighters, including some of the Mon Calamari capital ships, including Home 1, were deployed to engage the Imperial fleet above Endor during the Battle of the Second Death Star. And we really didn't see these things do a whole lot during that fight on screen. We see them with the rest of the fleet flying in formation, and then we see them kind of towards the end when all the ships are trying to get out of the way of the explosion. But we never see any of them actually engaged in dogfights with any Imperial starfighters. We never see any of them get blown up. We never see any of them actually fire some heavy weapons at any of the Star Destroyers or anything like that. So very underutilized ship, which kind of gave it sort of a cult following with the fan base. There was not a whole lot of product made around the B-Wing, not a whole lot of toys. I'm pretty sure in the 90s, which of course was when I was a kid and I was buying Star Wars toys, that I think it was the Action Fleet series is what they were called, which were ships about the same size that had little like Micro Machine size pilots. And I'm pretty sure there was a B-Wing in that line as well, because that line, hell, even had the TIE Defender, which is, you never see the TIE Defender in anything. And I know I have several X-Wings from that set, as well as, like I said, the TIE Defender but I did not get the B-Wing as much as I wanted it as a kid. So then this kit came around, and so quick little side note, the B-Wing is not featured in many video games. Like I said, the B-Wing is in the X-Wing and TIE Fighter games back in the day, but the B-Wing did not make an appearance in any of the Star Wars Battlefront games, and I'm not sure at this current time if the B-Wing will appear in the new Star Wars Squadrons game that's coming out this week, actually. So the Star Wars Squadrons games come out this week. It's the new EA Star Wars game that focuses primarily on space battles and has a new original story that features both the Rebel Alliance and the Empire. It looks pretty exciting, but the B-Wing, is, as far as I know, is not confirmed to even be in that game. So yeah, this model kit came around, and this model kit did come out originally before the wide release came out. There was a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive version, and I did see it at Hobbytown when it came out. It was very expensive, and it was basically this exact same kit, but it had LEDs in it, and there was no art on the box. It just was the black box that said Star Wars B-Wing Starfighter Comic-Con exclusive, and so that's one variant of this kit that exists. And then we got this one, which is a wide release. This is one of the last ships to be released for the Bandai Star Wars model kit line, and I believe that this collaborative effort is over. Like there are going to be no more ships or models released with the Bandai Star Wars agreement, which is unfortunate because of Disney and Hasbro having weird exclusive rights to Star Wars merchandising and issues related to import embargoes and stuff like that. It was very difficult to get these here in the States for a while. And so if you guys remember my previous reviews, or if you guys have bought any of these and built them before, you would know that the majority of the Starfighters were around $25 to $40 for the TIE Fighter, TIE Interceptor, and like the X-Wing, A-Wing, Y-Wing kind of thing. But for the B-Wing here, the B-Wing is $50, which again is not a whole lot for a model kit like this, but it is a lot more than what you're used to paying for these Bandai Star Wars model kits. I think the X-Wing cost me around $25, so this is twice as much as what the X-Wing cost me. And the box itself is a lot thicker. Like, this is a very thick box, which kind of gave you the impression this is going to be a much more large and involved kit, and it definitely is. This thing is very large, and I will show just how much larger it is in the other Starfighters here in a second. But part of that is just proportions, but I'll kind of get to that. But again, part of the scarcity of the availability of his kits is going to run into the problem of, if you guys do not already have them, good luck finding them. There's not a lot of places over here in the US that have them anymore, and importing them is kind of expensive. So this year in 2020, I did find my last Bandai Star Wars kit that I care about finding, which was the Y-Wing. And I found that up at the Battlegrounds game store in Dalton, Georgia, on my way back from seeing friends in Chattanooga. So they had it. It was like $45, which again is more than what you should pay for, but considering that they're very scarce and hard to find these days, I was okay with paying that. It is what it is. And so I will build that one very soon, and that will probably be the last of these reviews that I do, unless they actually make some Clone Wars era ships, because I would love to have an ARC 170 model kit. I would absolutely adore one of those. But I right now have no plans to do the Millennium Falcon, or like the Masterpiece Millennium Falcon, or the larger scale X-Wing, or any of those. Like, I'm not terribly interested, so I think after this review and the Y-Wing, that will be it for the Bandai Star Wars kits. So that was a long introduction and lore segment, but I'm glad you guys stuck around for it. So now I'll actually talk about the model kit itself. So I'm going to take it off of the stand, and we'll kind of talk about that. So the stand already is a very unique feature of this kit, and that is that it's this very large translucent stand. You kind of adjust the height that you have it at by moving these pegs up and down. It looks cool. It does kind of fit the Star Wars aesthetic there with the little hexagon shapes. And it's translucent, so it's not terribly invasive or distracting. And it has a little Star Wars logo down there. I'm just surprised because the stands on the vast majority of the other Bandai Star Wars model kits have some kind of terrain or something to make it look like the battle it's a part of. Usually that was like, some terrain from the Death Star or a desert setting for the First Order TIE Fighter and that kind of thing. So we'll kind of show this guy in 360. So again, it is really tall. I had to actually move the tripod up to get all of it in frame from the Zoids review I just finished filming. Lots of really awesome molded in detail that you guys can see there. And the white really does kind of make that pop quite a bit. Although I am not incredibly pleased with the amount of different varieties of molded in plastic, which does insinuate that this guy would require quite a bit of paint to go with it, which is fine. I'm assuming that most of you guys would want to paint these and to give it a little bit more variety. Also, the pilot in there is the cockpit is extremely detailed, and the pilot is unpainted as well, so I'm assuming you guys would want to do that. Again, you can pick between the clear translucent plastic cockpit or a wireframe cockpit as well. But I do wish that this translucent one had some of the lines that the real thing does. But again, I'm assuming that they want you to paint that on there. It also did come with the two sticker sheets, the regular sticker ones and the water decals as expected. In terms of moving parts, it does have the moving parts as you would imagine the B-Wing does. So the B-Wing in the films, you either see it fly like this, where it is perfectly straight up and down. I'm pretty sure in the X-Wing and TIE Fighter games, it always flies like this. But in the movie and in all of the box art and all the promotional stuff, there's this famous picture of a squadron of B-Wings blowing up a Star Destroyer, and it's flying like this. So I'm not really sure what the purpose is of each one of those formations. I know that the joke, the George Lucas joke when these were pitched sort of as a concept design for Return of the Jedi, is he kind of jokingly referred them to as the Billy Wing, and then the name Blade Wing kind of came after that, which I guess kind of does make sense by the look of it. But I think the Blade Wing may have actually been canonized as a different ship. But yeah, so of course it has the S-foils, the wings that fold out like that, and so it'll either fly in deep space like this, and then when it comes into an encounter, these will flip out like so, and the ship will rotate down like this to give us our combat ready mode. So if you're a starfighter and you're following behind this guy trying to hit it, not a very large profile to hit, so that might be one of the benefits of it, although again these were notoriously bad dogfighters because of their low speed, but from the side, that's a pretty big profile to try to hit. So maybe that was the advantage of being able to dodge turbo laser fire on the Star Destroyers they were approaching, is if they were going in a straight line, that's a pretty thin profile to not hit there. But again, awesome quality on this. The engines are very nice. The engines, I thought they had a bit of translucent plastic in there, but I actually think that is, it's the very center there, and that's like a weird, soft, translucent plastic little wire thing that all of the engines attached to. It's kind of hard to explain without actually seeing the build process of it. But yeah, very, very nice, very good quality kit. Did not take a long time to build. I built it in probably just under 2 hours, maybe 90 minutes, which does not seem like a very long time at all. And it really wasn't, but it was very much more satisfying to build than some of the other Bandai Star Wars kits. And maybe it's because we're dealing with bigger pieces. But I think the quantity of pieces, the size of it, and the build complexity in that short amount of time was an excellent compromise. I want to talk about the size of this thing really quick. So here's a size comparison with the X-Wing from the same line. I mean, just look at that size comparison. I'm joking. This is actually the 1/44 scale X-Wing. This is the 1/72 scale X-Wing. So as you can see, if I put the X-Wing down here on the base, it just completely just towers over it. And again, some of that is proportions. I'm sure if you look at the pilots up close, actually the pilot is probably a little bit bigger on the B-Wing there, so I'm sure the scale is a little bit different. But they scale pretty nicely beside each other. So this will go in the same section of the glass showcase that has some Zoids, but most of it is like Transformers, and then the bottom shelf is the Bandai Star Wars kits, and this should be able to go in there and scale quite nicely next to the X-Wing and the Y-Wing, eventually when I build the Y-Wing, the A-Wing, and the TIE Interceptor and TIE Fighter. And I haven't really shown this guy off yet. These 1/44 scale ones, these super tiny ones, They made a couple of these. There was a Star Destroyer. There was the Tantive 4. All of those got bought out really quickly at Hobbytown, and so I didn't get a chance to build many of them. But this is one of the only Bandai Star Wars kits I actually put the decals on. So you get to see what that looks like with the decals on. I'm not a huge fan of how that looks, but this guy's just so small and cute, and he was $8. Like $8 for that. How can you go wrong? It's so... it just makes me happy. It just brings out the 6-year-old in me. And I love it. But there's also a kit that was released that was X-Wing Squadron, which has both the 1/72nd scale and 1/44th scale like that. And so that's an option for you. But again, this isn't really an X-Wing review. We're not really talking about that. But I just wanted to kind of mention this guy because, again, it was a build that tried to be the same level of complexity as this. It came close, but it's much smaller, and it was only $8. Like, you can't go wrong with that at all for a model kit. Meanwhile, this $50 beast up here, I can't begin to recommend these guys enough. They're really cool. You guys should know that by now. And if you guys do want to invest in them, again, you're probably going to be paying a lot more money these days because knowing Star Wars collectors, knowing model kit collectors, model kit builders, how these things are printed in scarcity, how they are a pain in the ass to import with weird embargoes and stuff like that. Good luck fighting these guys, but they're out there somewhere if you want to just build them and do whatever with them. But if you want to paint them or do any kind of special battle damage or kit bashes or anything like that, I would really advise a lot of caution because much like Zoids and all the other model kits I feature on the channel, if you guys want to do anything like that, then you're running the risk of ruining an otherwise expensive model kit. So I would advise some caution there. You know, if you're going to spend the $50 or more to import this guy, then make sure if you do any kind of customized paint to it or anything that you do it right, because you could potentially ruin it. And that's why I don't do that. I'm not opposed to putting the decals on there if I do it correctly, but I'm definitely not going to paint these guys because I don't want to ruin it. I'm not a fan of the plainness of it without those added details and paint and all that, but in the end, it's okay. So that's about all I have to say about that. So we'll continue with more Zoids reviews. I have some other Bandai kits, like I showed off the Pacific Rim Gypsy Avenger Bandai kit, as well as the Y-Wing. So I'll see you guys next time with that.